myself, I'll jump into that. Padma ma'am, you had to switch on the mic.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Madam, shall we start the program, ma'am?
Yes, sir. 36 participants are around. Should we wait for 2 more minutes or should we start? 36 participants have logged in and it's 2:35.
No, they'll. I believe they'll log in due course. Maybe for another 5 minutes we can wait, ma'am.
Yes, please. Okay.
Meanwhile, I can get some biscuits or something also.
We are really
No, we are really
mute Jason.
So this is We can start the proceedings.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. A very good afternoon to you all. On behalf of ICAR-IIRR, Society for Advancement of Rice Research, on my personal behalf, I welcome all the scientific fraternity from Madras Diabetes Research Foundation, our own institute IIRR, members of SAR, life members, retired scientific professionals, ladies and gentlemen, to this webinar, which is organized commemorating the 75 years of independence as Azad Ka Amrit Mahotsav. I invite you all to this 15th webinar on food and nutrition research in relevance to diabetes. In this connection, now I request our beloved director, Dr. R.M. Sundaram, to give his opening remarks. Thank you.
On behalf of Indian Institute of Rice Research and also on behalf of Society for Advancement of Rice Research, I extend a warm welcome to Dr. Mallish, Dr. Sudha, and Dr. Shobana for kindly visiting us and agreeing to deliver this invigorating talk. As you all know, we are working in a crop which is also the perpetrator with regard to, considered to be perpetrator with regard to diabetes. And many of us, irrespective of the crop in which we are working, we are all, like, say, either pre-diabetic or diabetic or chronically diabetic. So it's all the more relevant for us to listen to Dr. Shobana, who will be delivering this invigorating talk on an interesting topic. As you all are aware, Dr. Shobana is the head and senior scientist, the Department of Food Technology, Madras Diabetes Research Foundation. And she earlier worked at Food Technological Research Institute, Mysore. And she has been actively associated with millet processing and development of health foods. In the year 2009, she joined MDRF and associated with the development of health foods. And she has also played a key role in development of an alternative for cornflakes or other white rice flakes. That is, she pioneered in development of brown rice flakes, which elicits a lower glycemic index response to commercial rice flakes. She has also developed several products with lower glycemic index, lower fat, and high fiber content. And I'm also happy to say that she is a certified diabetes educator. Ma'am, we are all very happy and then eager to learn. Kindly give us your perspective about not only in terms of which direction the research on developing low glycemic index food should go, and also some advice on day-to-day advice about how we can manage our diets and in this process manage diet and lifestyle, in this process manage our sugar levels also. We can go ahead, ma'am. Okay. I think somebody will introduce. Okay.
Now I request Dr. C.N. Neeraja Madam to introduce the speaker, Dr. Shobana.
Thank you, Director, and thank you the team from MDRF and Dr. Padma Kumari Madam and other audience who are all available online. So as the Director has already told, Dr. Shobana is head and senior scientist for the Department of Diabetes Food Technology in MDRF. She started her career at CFTRI Mysore in 2000 in the Department of Grain Science and Technology, in which she is involved with millet processing and development of health foods suitable for population with diabetes. In 2005, she has pursued her doctoral research in SRF fellowship under CSIR in the same CFTRI. She has her work focused on carbohydrate digestibility of finger millet foods, characterization of phenolic compounds from finger millet, and assessment of their functional properties. In the year 2009, she has joined MDRF as RA, and research interests include new product development, especially health foods, like food quality analysis, nutrition intervention, assessment of biochemical markers in human plasma, and metabolomics. And she has been now handling many projects from ICMR, BRNS, ICR, DST, DBT, and she is also part of CRP biofortification, and she's associated with the projects on millets and rice. She has played a very key role in the development of brown rice flakes, which could be very interest for all of us. And she has developed several products with low GI, lower fat and high fiber content. As the director has already mentioned, she's a certified diabetes educator. She has more than 35 publications and book chapters, and she has presented her work in several national and international fora. And she has 4 students. Looking forward for your guidance in diabetes. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Neeraja, for the kind introduction, and my sincere thanks to the Director, Indian Institute of Rice Research, and also Neeraja ma'am for giving this wonderful opportunity to present our food and nutrition related research works that we have been carrying out at our Madras Diabetes Research Foundation. And for the next 45 minutes, I'll be taking you all through the research works that we have been carrying out on different grains, including rice and millets, especially. And also I'd be covering upon the product development strategies to develop products with a lower glycemic indices. And moving on to the presentation. And to mention about MDRF, Madras Diabetes Research Foundation was established by Padma Shri Dr. V. Mohan in the year 1996, along with his wife, late Dr. Rema V. Mohan, and it was found out with an intention and vision for providing world-class environment for research in diabetes and its complications. And we have collaborations with several national and international universities and research centers. And we have several departments in our organization, starting from diabetology, cell and molecular biology, molecular genetics, clinical trials, epidemiology, foods, nutrition and dietetic research, and diabetes food technology. And we do have translational research biochemistry, vascular biology, and data management and biostatistics. And moving on to the talk, I would be covering upon the concepts of the glycemic index and glycemic load. And I would be showing some of the epidemiological studies that we have been carrying out. And also I would be covering on the glycemic index studies and short-term and long-term intervention studies. And I would like to show some market surveys that we have carried out on the quality of rice and millets that are available in Chennai. And also I would be showing some of the products that we have developed. And I would be concluding with take-home messages, and I would be acknowledging the funding agencies who have been kind enough to support our research at MDRF. And as we all know, we have 3 important determinants of health, which includes the lifestyle, which is again a combination of the physical activity and the diet. And again, one of the most important factors is the biomedical predisposition and Asian Indian phenotype. We belong to Asian Indian phenotypes, and we have higher propensity to diabetes, and we have typical biochemical features that render us more susceptible to diabetes. And yes, of course, the environment where we live in is going to influence our health. And moving on to the concept of glycemic index, it is a scale which ranks the foods, carbohydrates, rich foods especially, based on their ability to raise the blood sugar upon consumption as compared to reference food glucose. And glycemic index shows the blood sugar raising property of the food or the quality of carbohydrates to raise the blood sugar level upon consumption, while the glycemic load takes into account both the quality as well as the quantity of carbohydrates. Glycemic load is nothing but the glycemic index times the available or the glycemic carbohydrate content in a given amount of food. So these two concepts are very important to understand the blood sugar raising property of a food. And glycemic index is influenced by a multitude of factors, it is influenced by the nature of starch present in the food that we consume. To take an example, if it is a rice, the rice varieties which contain higher amylose content are expected to raise the blood sugar level to a lower extent as compared to high amylopectin rice varieties. And we also know that the fiber content in a food is known to influence the glycemic index. But however, rather than the fiber quantity alone, quality of fiber is also very important. Intact fiber is important to reduce the blood sugar levels, and soluble fiber is more efficient in controlling the blood sugar level than the insoluble fibers. And particle size of the flours that we use in our daily preparation is also going to have a say over the glycemic index. Finer particle size flours will elicit a higher glycemic response than a flour with a bigger particle size. For example, if it is a gritty flour, we can expect a mildly lower response as compared to a finely milled flour-based preparation. And again, the method of cooking is also going to influence the glycemic index. For example, if we are going to prepare a thin porridge which is extensively cooked in excess water, it will have higher levels of gelatinized or cooked starch, and which has higher susceptibility to the digestion, or it has a higher level of bioavailable carbohydrates, and hence raises the blood sugar level rapidly. And again, in the context of a meal, the composition of meal is going to influence the glycemic property of the meal, and presence or absence of fat is also going to influence the food property. And as you see in the graph, high glycemic index foods raise the blood sugar level rapidly, and they fall below the baseline or the fasting blood glucose, and is going to create a higher insulin demand in the pancreas. And generally, we recommend low GI foods for not only people with diabetics, but for everyone. And we have three categories of glycemic index, which I'll be explaining in my subsequent slides. And these are all the three categories: high, medium, and low. And higher glycemic index foods are the ones which have the values more than or equal to 70, and medium ones between 59 and 69, while the low glycemic index food will be less than 55. And below are the values which we have gathered from our epidemiological study, which we carried out in Chennai way back in 2007 or 8. It is the Chennai Urban Rural Epidemiology Study, wherein we tried to understand the dietary correlates for the epidemic of diabetes. And we found that these population, both the urban and the rural population, have been consuming foods with higher GI and glycemic load. And why are we more bothered about the glycemic index and the glycemic load? Higher glycemic load and the higher glycemic index diets are known to cause insulin resistance, as they increase the insulin demand for the pancreas, and it mediates type 2 diabetes through beta cell exhaustion. Hence, low glycemic load and low glycemic index foods are recommended for Asian Indian phenotypes like us, so that we can prevent ourselves from this epidemic of diabetes. And now I'm going to show some of the epidemiological studies that we have carried out at MDRF. And this is one study which we have published in the year 2009, wherein we found lot of association between the dietary carbohydrates and the glycemic load of the diets with risk for type 2 diabetes. And we found that these population have been consuming lots of refined grains, especially the white rice. And on average, we found that an individual consumes almost 250 to 300 grams of rice per day. And the polished rice, as I'm going to show in my subsequent slides, is starchy and contains higher levels of glycemic carbohydrates, and are known to increase the glycemic load of the diets. And not only this increases the risk for type 2 diabetes, this also increases the risk for metabolic syndrome, which is again a clustering of syndromes which make an individual highly susceptible for type 2 diabetes. And this is again about the dietary pattern of the South Indian urban population. And from the Chennai urban rural epidemiology study, we could find that almost 50% of our dietary calories was derived from refined cereals such as white rice, and hardly 1% of the energy was derived from whole grain, nutritious cereals and millets. And we also found that the pulse consumption, fruits and vegetable consumption were lower in this population. And when you see the energy distribution from this macronutrients, we found that almost 65% of the energy was derived from carbohydrates, 11% from protein, and 24% from fat. And these kind of energy distribution is very normal. And this made us to think whether there might be some differences in the quality of carbohydrates that we have been consuming, and maybe that might be the contributing factor for the epidemic of diabetes in this population. So we went on to study the quality of rice that we have been consuming, as cereal staples are the major calorie providers. And here you see the level of consumption of refined grain in the urban rural population. You can see more than 350 grams and 450 grams of rice or refined grains are being consumed in their diet, and very less levels of whole grain millets, and less consumption of pulses was noted in the rural population. And some scientists from the Madras Diabetes Research Foundation were inquisitive to find out how much of diabetes could be prevented in this population. And this is again from the Chennai Urban Rural Epidemiology Study. And after a follow-up of 10 years, they could find 5 important risk factors for diabetes, and they were named as obesity, physical inactivity, unfavorable diet risk score, and higher levels of triglycerides and lower levels of good cholesterol, or the HDL cholesterol. And they mentioned that almost these 5 risk factors could explain 80% of the incident cases they identified in that study. And they found out that more than 50% of the cases were explained by physical inactivity and faulty diet. And they also told that almost 30% of the cases could be reversed if they can take or shift over to a good diet. And now moving on to the clinical studies, I will be showing some of the glycemic index studies and also nutrition intervention trials that we have carried out on rice. And we all know that during polishing, the nutritious component of the grain, which is the bran germ and the aleurone layers, are stripped off, leaving behind the starchy endosperm. And these carbohydrates are glycemic and metabolizable and are responsible for the raise in the blood sugar when they are consumed. And so since we were interested in the cereal staples as they were the major calorie providers, we went on to study the glycemic properties of commonly consumed rice varieties. And we did observe that the commonly consumed Ponni white rice and Shruti kolam and Sona Masuri white rice showed high glycemic indices. And so we wanted to understand the glycemic property of brown rice as it is nutritious, and we conducted a small experiment, and we hired a rice mill near Chennai, and we took this BPT 5204 rice variety. We parboiled it because we are used to parboiled rice in Tamil Nadu. So we did take a parboiled version of the grain and we parboiled it, and we did prepare 3 versions of the rice. One is the unpolished brown rice, and other is the minimally polished rice, which is again maybe equivalent to hand pounded rice or rice with the minimal polishing. And we prepared the polished white rice, which is comparable to the marketed white rice, which is again has 8 to 10% degree of polish. And to our surprise, we did expect a medium or a middle value for the glycemic index for the undermilled rice, but we observed a almost equivalent higher GI for the minimally polished rice as compared to the white rice. And as expected, brown rice showed a lower glycemic index, which is again a medium glycemic index value which we got. And the delta difference between 80 and 57 is quite large. And definitely brown rice is a healthier choice as compared to minimally polished rice and white rice. And not only glycemic index, we did observe a lower glycemic response, day-long glycemic response for brown rice-based diets as compared to white rice-based diets. And here I'm showing the glycemic indices of different white rice and brown rice-based preparations that were prepared from 5204 variety of rice. And the control was the raw white rice, while the test was the parboiled brown rice, which we prepared from 5204 rice variety. And as you see, these were the traditional preparations that we consume in Tamil Nadu and also in some parts of Kerala and Andhra Pradesh. And we did find that the form of food has an influence on the glycemic property of food. And many of the flour or batter based preparations did show a high glycemic index, immaterial whether it is prepared from white rice or parboiled rice. And we did observe a lower glycemic index for plain cooked brown rice and also sambar rice as compared to the white rice versions. And the message out of this study is that we are not telling them to completely avoid these traditional preparations. And it is very important for us to understand the glycemic property of each preparation so that judiciously we can plan the accompaniments which can help us to achieve a favorable lower glycemic response. So lower glycemic index accompaniments should be consumed along with these high GI preparations in order to reduce the postprandial blood glucose response for these kind of preparations. And here I'm showing the glycemic properties of an instant quick cooking brown rice that was available in US. And this study is again in collaboration with the Harvard School of Public Health, wherein we were asked to test the glycemic index of a very popular brown rice, the Uncle Ben's brown rice, which is being commonly consumed by several in USA. And this rice cooks instantaneously. And we wanted to test the glycemic index, and we did observe a very high glycemic index, and this result was shocking, and we wanted to understand the higher GI with other physicochemical testing. And we did observe the rice under scanning electron microscope, and we found that there were the bran layer was completely disturbed, and there were several fissures in the grain, which was purposefully created to hydrate the grain fast as compared to the natural brown rice to make this rice instantly cook. Since they have adopted a special kind of hydrothermal processing technique, they have pre-gelatinized the rice, and they have created pores or fissures in the grain so that the grain will take water easily and cook instantly. And hence we would like to state that authentic brown rice would be the best option to take instead of these kind of instant quick cooking brown rice varieties. And this is again a very recent paper which is yet to be published, and it is under press. And we have shown the glycemic index of several traditional Indian preparations. And the finding that we would like to state here from the study is that the plain cooked pulses and also the broken wheat upma has a lower glycemic index. And we also found a medium glycemic index for adai, which is a pancake made from pulses and rice. And also wheat dosa, sorghum idli, and methi paratha were medium glycemic index foods. And this is again the data which was taken from the previous study which I have mentioned. And we did observe high GI for few food preparations and medium glycemic index for few preparations. And as I mentioned, pulses are very good choices as they are low glycemic index food choices. And these kind of pulses can definitely be part of accompaniments of high glycemic index main course meals or preparations. And left side I'm showing the glycemic index of some of the finger millet based foods that we tested way back in 2018. And we prepared upma from mildly polished finger millet, and also we flaked finger millet, and we used them for preparing upma, and we did observe a higher glycemic index, while the value added products that we prepared from finger millet by adding functional ingredients such as soluble fibers prepared from fenugreek and also corn did have an influence on the glycemic index. and we could observe a medium glycemic index for these kind of value added products prepared from finger millet. And this is again, I'm showing the content from a chapter which is published in the textbook Brown Rice by Springer, and wherein we are trying to show that glycemic index is unique for each preparation. It's not a single value for a crop, and the glycemic index will apply for each preparation. And for example, the glycemic index of a brown rice will be influenced by several factors such as the physicochemical property, the method of processing, the method of cooking, and the form in which we are consuming the brown rice, and also the eating method. And to cite a few parameters under physicochemical properties, if a rice contains higher amylose content, we can expect a lower glycemic index. And pigmented varieties may either elicit a higher or lower glycemic index, we do not know. And we did observe high GI for few rice varieties, and definitely we need lot of studies on the land races and medicinal rice varieties which are available in India. And the screening of land races and other rice varieties for glycemic index will throw light or will be helpful in identifying rice with lower glycemic properties. And as I mentioned, the processing is going to have an influence on the food. Polishing or even minimal polishing is going to raise the GI, and germination and grinding to a fine flour and boiling in the form of a thin porridge is going to raise the GI. And cold extrusion, do not know, maybe either it can increase or decrease, but definitely hot extrusion techniques and puffing techniques will increase the glycemic index of the food product. And cooking methods, as I mentioned, cooking the product in the form of a porridge or cooking the rice mashy to a mashy texture for a longer duration is going to increase the glycemic property. And consuming the food in the grain form is a better option than consuming in the form of a porridge or a flour form. And chewing a food for a longer duration is going to increase the glycemic property of the food. And this is again from a short-term intervention study. And this is a continuous glucose monitoring study wherein we attached a small continuous glucose monitoring sensor to the lower abdomen of the individuals who were overweight Asian Indians. And this sensor is capable of capturing the interstitial glucose level, which is proportionate to the blood glucose levels. And we did find a lower blood sugar response for brown rice based diets as compared to white rice based diets. And this is a randomized control trial wherein the subjects were given the respective diets prepared in our experimental kitchen, and they consumed the breakfast, lunch, dinner from us. And we maintained similar preparations in both the test and only there was a difference in the grain which was used for the preparations. And we also found that found a lower fasting insulin levels in the brown rice based diets compared to the white rice based diets. And we found some improvements when brown rice was consumed with whole grain pulses. And here, this is again a long-term intervention study wherein we tried to understand the effect of brown rice consumption for a duration of 3 months, wherein we found a reduction in the glycosylated hemoglobin with subjects having metabolic syndrome. And also we did find a lower inflammatory marker, that is the high sensitive C-reactive protein in the participants who consumed brown rice as compared to white rice based diets. And these studies signpost the health benefits of consuming whole grains compared to refined grains such as white rice. But we do have a lot of difficulties in popularizing the brown rice in our population especially. And our population feel that brown rice is dull in color and less nutritious, and there is lack of awareness on the nutritional properties of brown rice. And some feel that it is chewy, and they felt that it has poor sensory properties as compared to refined white rice. And also brown rice has disadvantages in terms of lower shelf life and it takes longer duration to cook. And so there is a definite need for rice varieties with superior sensory properties as well as glycemic properties for this population who are at high risk for the epidemic of diabetes. And now let me show some of the market surveys that we had conducted in Chennai. And one market survey was on rice and the other was on millets. And here I am showing some of the rice varieties which were available in Chennai market, and we did find a variety of claims declared over them. We saw semi-brown rice, which is again polished, minimally polished, and dia rice, diabeto rice, diabetic friendly rice, dia special rice. And we also found several rice varieties being sold with after coating with herbal decoctions. We do not know the scientific evidence behind these, and we do not know the bioavailability of the phytochemicals that have been coated on these kind of rice varieties. And several varieties had lower GA claims without any scientific evidence. And we did see a whole grain tag on some of the pigmented rice varieties which do have aberrations on the bran layers, and some were selling polished red Kerala rice as brown rice. And here you can see some of the quick cooking brown rice, and one brand was selling polished rice as brown rice with a claim of sugar free. And these kind of claims will be misleading for the consumers. And as you all know, cereal staples contain very lower levels of free sugars, and they are going to get digested to release the sugar in our intestine. And so these kind of claims will definitely mislead the consumer, and awareness need to be created in the population to make a judicious choice of the cereal staple. And this is again a brown basmati which is minimally polished, and but they had mentioned as a brown rice, which is a whole grain on the pack. And we also saw quick cooking brown rice varieties, which is less preferred as compared to the natural brown rice. And this is about the millet survey that we conducted in Chennai, wherein we visited 100 stores and we found out 48 brands of millets. And we did not observe any polishing with the major millets such as sorghum pearl millet or finger millet, but we did observe that most of the minor millets, namely the Kodo, Little Foxtail, Barnyard, and Proso millets, were highly polished, and hardly 2 or 3 brands were selling unpolished millets. But the polished millets had several variety of claims over them. They were claimed to be whole grains and diabetic friendly, rich in dietary fiber, and so on. And here you can see the morphology of the unpolished millets that we prepared at MDRF, and below are the millets that we withdrew from the market, which are highly fiber depleted. And these millets are equivalent to white rice, and these kind of millets will definitely have higher GI and are going to increase the glycemic load of diets. Hence, there need to be an awareness creation among this population in order to pick and choose the right unpolished millet, so that they don't spend money on these kind of fiber depleted refined grains. And so apart from research, we do engage in translation of our research findings, and we do follow a protocol at MDRF, and we take the findings from our epidemiological studies, namely the dietary correlates for diabetes, obesity, and metabolic syndrome. And we do conduct market surveys, understand the quality of foods that are available, and we do a gap assessment, and then we use this information to design our products at MDRF. And as a team, we are all involved in this activity. We do have epidemiologists, diabetologists, nutritionists, dietitians, food technologists, food scientists, and food chemists engaged full-time in this translation of research. And here I'm showing the food prototyping facility that we have at MDRF, and we have the basic equipments to do the product development at a small level. And here you can see the food and nutrition lab at MDRF, where we can conduct the approximate composition of different kinds of food matrices, cooked foods, raw ingredients. We can estimate the resistant starch, amylose, amylopectin, and now we are engaged in characterization of carbohydrates. And we do have a HPLC GC facility to characterize the fat and carbohydrates, and we do shelf life testing, and also we are engaged in intervention trials, we get a lot of human plasma and serum samples. So we take them up for inflammatory markers, gut hormones, and several other biochemical markers. And now moving on to the product development, we have several approaches to reduce the glycemic property of a food. And the foremost important one is to reduce the amount of carbohydrates that we consume. And this can be achieved by inclusion of ingredients which are rich in non-digestible carbohydrates. We can include a lot of fruits, vegetables, and fiber isolates and resistant starches which are now available in the market. And we can increase the ingredients which are rich in protein as well to reduce the carbohydrate component in the food or the product that we are developing. And the second foremost important one, important approach that we can employ is the reducing the rate of digestion of carbohydrates, and which can be achieved by food matrix engineering approaches. And we can either modify the composition to achieve the food matrix modification, and also we can select grains which have higher amylose or include ingredients that have basically slow digesting carbohydrates. And one such example is pulses. They have a slow digesting property as compared to cereal carbohydrates. And we can include resistant starches and soluble fiber isolates. And also we can include enzyme inhibitors in our formulation. For example, we can include amylase inhibitors or heat stable alpha glucosidase inhibitors, so that they can reduce the rate of digestion and as well as the absorption of glucose from the foods that we are developing. And we do have food matrix modification approaches, and we can employ minimal processing approaches and preservation of grain matrix, which I will be showing in my subsequent slides, and utilization of bigger particle size flours for the development of products. And we can try creating a complex matrix which is rigid to digest. And so these kind of approaches could be utilized for development of low glycemic index food products. And of course, we can modify the viscosity of digester by including a lot of soluble fibers which are known to modify the viscosity of the meal, and hence they can help in digestion, reducing the digestion as well as absorption of the glucose from the meal. And here again I am showing the glycemic index of the upma prepared from the brown rice flakes that we prepared at Madras Diabetes Research Foundation, and you can see the difference in color as well. And we have prepared a thicker and firmer flakes from brown rice. We tried to retain the brown rice matrix, and most of the bran and germ were retained as compared to fully fiber depleted flakes which were available in the market. And this brown rice flakes is nutritious. It contains higher levels of dietary fiber and did elicit a medium glycemic index for the upma as compared to high glycemic index which was observed for the commercial white rice flakes upma. And these are all the trials which we have conducted. We are into preparation of noodles and vermicelli, gluten-free noodles and vermicelli. We try to improve the quality of fiber in these cereal staples. We try to add soluble fiber in order to make them gluten-free, because they are gluten replaces, and also they are helping in improving the soluble fiber content of these kind of products. And we have prepared gluten-free pastas from different kinds of millets, and also adds value by improving the soluble fiber of these grains. And we have developed some multigrain breads. And this is again an instant idli mix that we prepared for a project sponsored by Department of Science and Technology, wherein we are trying to develop a health food kit for elderly population with diabetes. And as you all know, elderly population, they are less productive. They are away many times away from the family, and they have denture problems. And there is a definite need for convenience food for this population. And so we try to develop some 8 products covering from soup mix to idli mix, some snacks, and also some breakfast cereal. We have developed porridge mixes and a beverage. So we have tried to use the approaches which I have mentioned earlier. And so this instant idli mix is idli mix. You can just mix water and leave it for 20 minutes, which is ready to cook. And we try to incorporate fenugreek and soluble fibers. And we have used liberal proportions of pulses in order to reduce the glycemic index and also to improve the protein content and quality of the product. And I'm also showing the whole grain or the chickpea based pasta which we have developed. And this is again the vermicelli and the porridge which I had mentioned. And it's very difficult to develop a porridge with a lower glycemic index. As mentioned earlier, it has a finer particle size, and we cook the porridge thoroughly, and reducing the glycemic index is going to be challenging. So I tried using the pulses and barley and oats and some other ingredients. And also we try to utilize the soluble fiber isolates which are available to reduce the glycemic index. And it's a fantastically low glycemic index product that we have developed out of the project. And we have developed also a breakfast cereal and also an adai mix and an extruded snack from finger millet we could prepare with a medium GI by including fenugreek galactomannan, which is again a fiber extract from the fenugreek. And these are all the snack versions that we have developed at MDRF. And you all would know about the Haldiram's most sought over deep fried moong dal snack. We have adopted a special hydrothermal processing technique to prepare a snack out of the moong dal, but with a very lower fat content, 4% fat as compared to 18 to 20% fat deep fried moong dal snack. And we have prepared a tuna, which is similar to the deep fried mixture which is available commonly. And this is again out of a brown rice flake, wherein we have tried to use the crispy brown rice flakes, and we have coated with seasoning with a lower level of fat content. And we have also developed some crackers and biscuit out of millets by using fat replacers. And we have also developed some beverage mix for the DST project, wherein we have incorporated fiber in the beverage mix. And also a roti mix we have tried to develop by incorporating the soluble fiber in order to keep the roti softer for a longer duration. Like incorporation of fiber in rotis helps in dual ways. It improves textural features and also helps us to reduce the glycemic index of the rotis that we make out of the product. And finally, I would like to conclude stating that both the quality and quantity of carbohydrates needs attention, and refined grains have higher glycemic index and contribute to higher glycemic load of Indian diets and increases the risk for type 2 diabetes. And brown rice is a healthier choice as compared to white rice. And glycemic load can be reduced by two ways. Either we can consume foods with lower glycemic index, or by reducing the quantity of refined grains that we consume. And removing rice from our diets is going to be challenging, or reducing the amount of rice is also going to be challenging. So it is important for us to learn how to reduce the glycemic index or the glycemic load of the diet by incorporating the innovative approaches that are available currently. And also, there is a definite need to create awareness on the glycemic properties of traditional food preparations that we have been consuming for ages. And this is definitely essential for effective meal planning. And this would also be helpful to helpful for judicious meal planning. And every high GI food preparation need to be combined with a lower glycemic index accompaniment. And whole grains are to be consumed in the intact form to the best possible extent. And whole grain pulses are definitely nutritious with a lower glycemic index property. And quality of fiber is very important rather than the quantity alone. And many a times all whole grains do not assure a lower glycemic index, and it depends on the form of food that we prepare out of the whole grain. And awareness is required in the current population in order to make judicious food choices. And minimal processing of the grains or lesser heat treatments or utilization of flour with a bigger particle sizes and inclusion of adequate amount of pulses, fruits and vegetables in our diet are the practically feasible and approaches to reduce the glycemic index and glycemic load of our diets. And we need more studies on extending the shelf life of this nutritious brown rice and other polished grains. And screening of cultivars for low glycemic index is the need of the hour. And high amylose varieties with higher amylose content and resistant starch content would definitely widen the range of healthier cereal staple for this population. and there is a felt need for change in the food environment, and collaboration of agricultural scientists and health professionals and food industries are essential to achieve this big task of generating healthier food choices for this population. And finally, I would like to acknowledge our funding agencies, without whom our research would have not been possible at all. And our sincere thanks to the Indian Council of Medical Research, Board of Research in Nuclear Sciences, Department of Science and Technology, Department of Biotechnology, Indian Council of Agricultural Research, Indian Institute of Rice Research, Indian Institute of Millet Research, and my sincere thanks to our management, Dr. V. Mohan, Dr. Anjana, and my mentor, Mrs. Sudha Vasudevan, and also my guru, Dr. Malleshi, who is with me now, supporting me then and now. And also I am indebted to the research scholars and staff of Diabetes Food Technology Department, without whose hard work it would have been impossible to generate such data. And this is our team who have been the pillar of strength and have been contributing for the research and development work that we carry out at Foods, Nutrition, Dietetics Research, and also the Diabetes Food Technology Department. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you very much, madam, for the wonderful talk. I think you can now have your probably a frugal lunch. Ma'am, it was a very comprehensive talk, and personally speaking, somebody working in rice and somebody who's pre-diabetic or diabetic, there are a lot of clues you gave in terms of management of our diet, so that our overall, like say, consumption of foodstuffs or the way we consume it, it needs to change. And while talking about these things, I have got a few queries. Can I ask now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Of late in the market, there are products which are not labeled as brown rice, as hand pounded rice. They are entering the market. They are slightly cheaper than brown rice. I used to have hand pounded rice during my childhood, which we used to call in Tamil as kaikuttal arsi. So I don't remember its taste. But what I feel is, are they really hand pounded, or just any brown rice they are branding it as?
No, now there are machineries to prepare hand pounded rice, sir, and I don't think it will be 100% brown rice, because there will be definite aberration on the bran layers. And as I showed, minimally polished rice did not show a lower glycemic index as compared to white rice. And so instead of consuming these kind of hand pounded rice, we can definitely choose a brown, authentic brown rice rather than a hand pounded rice.
Another question is, it's a debate. My wife is also diabetic, and she always says that rather than managing diabetes using tablets or drugs, it's better to go for insulin. So as a clinician,
no, I would suggest the way around. Like, I would suggest we can manage diabetes with a healthy diet.
No,
instead of medications and insulin, we can manage. If it is in the initial stages, there is a definite chance of getting back to normalcy.
In that context, I am also appellate diabetic. Okay, that's what I ate. Otherwise, I would have gone to hypoglycemia. Okay, now the managing diabetes with insulin is one, whereas managing diabetes with diet and exercise makes us more disciplined. So that is a better approach than
no, like in between, say, for example, I am pre-diabetic or I am diabetic. I need to reduce down my sugar levels. So in that, I don't know whether it's the right question to ask you.
Yeah,
I was just wondering.
I can tell you
what would be the right option.
Yeah, we have a lot of patients the same way, especially youngster, when they get diabetes, many doctors brand them as type 1 diabetic and they start them on insulin injection. Their blood sugar will never come down at all. When they come to us as a referral center, being Dr. Mohan's, we just remove the insulin injection, start them on tablet, they respond. So there are two types of diabetes, you must understand. We all, bulk of them belong to the second category of type 2 diabetes, meaning that the body has got inefficient or insufficient insulin. So when that needs to be corrected, external insulin will not be able to help. There is a conflict. The body is already secreting insulin. So especially with people with obesity, overweight, when they develop a diabetes, there is excess insulin already in the blood, which is resistant, ineffective. So then if you take insulin injection on top of that, it is still circulating in the body. It gets mixed up with the lazy insulin and this, you will never find many times with that cases. So there are different types of diabetes. So for the diabetes which needs hypoglycemic agent, OHA, oral hypoglycemic agent, what they do is they either stimulate more insulin production for insufficiency or for inefficiency, which is bulk of them, obese diabetic people, the metformin you all must have heard, that improves the sensitivity of the insulin. It whacks the lazy insulin. Come on, get up and go and do your work, kind of a thing. So the external insulin will not play a role. So this is one uniqueness with the.
And sometimes, no, ma'am, higher insulin levels, they will put on a lot of weight.
And as a result, the person will taking one lazy insulin on blood, on top of that, started taking injection. You feel hungry more and need to eat more.
I got it. And one more, I have two questions which have, like say, points which have aroused my curiosity. Between animal-based protein, you told that mixing proteins with, say, any carbohydrate is always a better way of delivery, or say taking foodstuffs rather than consuming carbohydrates alone or
yes,
any other way. So between plant-based proteins and then animal-based proteins, it could be meat or meat-based products, or
Yes,
it could
sir.
be in terms of milk or milk-based products or eggs. So which among them is better for a healthy lifestyle, like say, in terms of at least for
you wanted to compare between meat, sir,
Yeah.
milk and meat,
between
and plant and meat.
plant-based protein and then animal-based protein.
They say meat-based protein to be a complete protein,
Okay.
either egg or a milk or a meat, compared to plant
As a
protein.
diabetic
as
patient,
yes, as a definitely we can you can take either plant protein or a meat protein, sir. But meat protein, they say it's a complete protein. I don't think if you take if you are taking meat, you will have to see that you don't take a deep fried meat preparations
of course, I'm a
frequently.
vegetarian.
Yeah.
I can take
No,
only
just to add on, that's a very wonderful question. In fact, recently we published with the genetic risk score with the plant-based protein is effective. See, there are two classes of meat protein. One is meat-derived protein, other one is meat protein. Dairy proteins are meat animal derived.
Yeah,
Whereas,
I'm talking about
yeah, you're talking about the dairy protein. So plant protein. So now you do have that plant protein can also be equal. And that's why we say that rice and dal becomes as complete protein with the good biological value they started. Now they come to dias and so on. And compared to the egg protein. So when you take the dairy protein, the whole world, in fact, we just recently finishing our systematic review and meta-analysis on dairy consumption. In our study, probably she has not shown those slides. We have shown that population who consume more milk and products, they certainly have lower risk of diabetes. They have better control. So milk is basically a low glycemic index, but the problem with milk protein, which has got higher amount of branch chain amino acid, they are more insulin index is little higher on the side. But nevertheless, with all that, they are the good source of protein, not only protein, calcium and other minerals we do get from milk. It helps to regulate your blood pressure, which is highly correlated with diabetes. So we definitely find the milk derived, the dairy proteins are useful. When it comes to plant protein, the whole Western paradox now is they found out their meat protein comes from the processed red meat. That is a predominant reason, processed, that adds up more problem to increase risk. So they suggest either you take a fresh meat, don't go for the preserved and processed, highly processed red meat, those kind of a thing. And plant protein, they themselves have found out it a lot more. And there is also a branch chain amino acid story comes with the protein from the dairy. But for Asians and Indians, our recent meta-analysis clearly says there is something we as a race benefit from the dairy, and it is not risk at all. That is for sure. And even the milk saturated fat is non-atherogenic. It has got 15 odd chain fatty acids, definitely lowers the risk of diabetes. So I think we don't have to switch or anything. Yeah.
Can we mix with the milk, ma'am?
Yes, the D protein you are talking about. Yeah, that is for people. See, now there is a whole ultra process is becoming a big buzz now. And WHO has categorically said all these supplements, including infant baby food formulas, they're all ultra processed. Because what do they do? Deep protein, you take any of this nutrition. We ourselves have done quite a bit of RCT on that. We have done clinical trial with name any of the nutrition supplement or weight loss. The main ingredient will be either whey protein, casein, soy protein isolates, these are all. So the whole world now, the same Western world says, when these are all naturally present in the soybean or milk, why don't you allow them to have, why do you take them and take them process further? And environmental hazard now, we are talking about carbon footprint, which is all going up now. So let people eat soy protein, let people eat dairy. So I think deep protein is still needed for people elderly where they are malnourished. Their absorption rate, as they grow older, they don't have a good appetite, they don't eat enough adequate protein. For them, this supplement helps, but not for youngsters who can do good exercise. And I call it you and me as an youngster, so we don't need that. Take it as a compliment. I give it to my own self and to you too.
So, one last question, ma'am.
Yes.
One of the interesting results which Madam presented is the comparison of khichdi, which apparently is a mixture of rice and pulse,
Yes.
along with that of say sambar or sambar rice.
Yes, yes.
Why does sambar has a very low glycemic index,
Yes,
while
yes.
khichdi, is
Yes.
it because of tamarind?
Now,
That is
what she
because of-
showed khichdi is our, not the rice and pulse. In South in Chennai, the same suji upma added bit of vegetable, onion,
Okay, I
tomato.
got it,
That
I
is
got
called
it.
khichdi.
Not pulses
Not
were
the North
there.
Indian khichdi, which is called rice and moong. It is
Now,
not.
now I got it.
Yeah, that is the one. And sambar rice has got, see, this tamarind is the tannic acid that delays, any organic acid delays gastric emptying. So that is one reason, plus some pulse in sambar, though it is little, some vegetable. So sambar is definitely, even the white rice is shifted. That is definitely
Organic acids are known to lower, and tartaric acid in tamarind is known to.
That's what my grandmother always used to say.
Yeah.
And also a lot of pulses and vegetables are there in the preparation.
I was under the impression that millets are diabetic friendly. Ragi mudde, jupna rotte.
Oh, I
Maize
love this
rotte.
topic.
But
I love
in
this
our
topic.
presentation,
Neerja knows last time I spoke to her.
in your presentation, you are telling they're all high class.
I take liberty with Dr. Maleshi, the millet man of the country.
Sir, they are
And the
very
millet
nutritious. So we must accept that if it is a high glycemic index food and try to manage the meal along with pulses. We should take liberal amounts of pulse-based accompaniments. They are definitely nutritious, and it is up to us to use them in a judicious way. Like we'll have to manage the meal.
Yeah.
See, what is very clear now is millet as a grain. If you take rice, wheat, millet. So the rate I would give it is for the rice is better any day, brown rice. Because brown rice, if you take rice, we consume it in a grain form. People, those who eat wheat, the predominant use of wheat is as a wheat flour atta. So the particle size, what Shobana mentioned, there you see the rice is still as a grain. Even if you call it, that is why we have tested enough number of GI, name any brand of atta in the country would have tested. With white rice, statistically, they are not different. Wheat on an average gives a GI of 65 to 69. Rice is from 70 to 75, the common rice. So statistic, but it so happened categorically from 70 and above is high. 69 is on the wagging the tail, cat on the wall. Wheat is enjoying as a medium. That is one story. But imagine we are comparing it with white rice, not the whole wheat atta with brown rice. Then brown rice is any day superior. We are consuming. We don't make brown rice flour and make atta. So in that sense, our cultural practices, I think brown rice should be definitely more promoted. In our national study, ICMR in-depth study, we have completed 27 states and 3 union territories, population habit. Now out of 27 states and 3 union, except Rajasthan, almost all states report rice as one of the main single states. We thought only Southern. Earlier people are blaming South Indians have got more diabetes than North Indian. You'll be surprised. The highest prevalence is all from North India. Yes. So, and Northeast India consumes only rice. They don't even have wheat. At least now South India people started thinking wheat is better. So it's a confusion they go. Northeast India, only rice, but they have much lower rate. It's a complex phenomenon, but it is, I'm telling. Whereas millets, certainly they are more eco-friendly, environment friendly, and they are more nutrient dense. But the problem, that's what I was just writing to Dr. Maleshi. I'm going to say that. I wanted to take his permission. what my observation, I'm not a food scientist or food technologist. I'm a human nutritionist. So I know what works in the body. I feel the problem with millets, most of the millets have lower amylose content. Definitely for our body to have a lower GI and slower rise in blood sugar, higher amylose definitely helps, no doubt. And particle size matters. Millets are all small seed grains. I don't know whether Shobana, you showed your foxtail, little
Yes.
millet GI,
Yes.
unpolished, see? She wanted to be very safe. We have published that, okay? Though unpolished, because they're small seed grain. When you take it in your mouth, the teeth can crush them. So mastication play an important role. Anything that you require no chewing or too much chewing is not good. Millets need on one end too much chewing. The moment you made them, crush them in the flour, being a small seed, appropriate machinery, I do not know, but I understand from Dr. Maleshi 5-6 years back, he is my mentor for that milling. Most of the industry use wheat mill, correct, Dr. Maleshi, or rice machinery. Millet-based machine, small seed to remove. So such a small seed, you pick it into rice and wheat. The flour gets, the particle size like a talcum powder it is. It's more floury in the small, the millet. Am I right, Dr. Maleshi? This also could be another reason. So for having said that, we definitely wanted to promote millets because they're environment friendly, less carbon footprint as a holistically. Only the minus point is glycemic index.
And
So,
of course, their anti-nutrient content also.
anti-nutrient, phyto.
That's exactly.
Yeah. So the phytonutrients content is also good. So we need to work on either through breeding mechanism or through promoting value added product. Yeah, please.
Ma'am, there are a lot of
Please.
questions which
Yeah.
people like to shoot.
Sure.
I'm really sorry. Chitra madam, you can go ahead with your question. Or Padma madam, you would like to ask?
No, let
Padma madam, go
Chitra
ahead.
take. No, let Chitra take it, sir. First, she's raised her hand first. Chitra.
So much for this wonderful lecture. I'm very happy to be interacting with you all. I have a few questions. One is in the presentation, she talked about raw rice for idli, whereas we don't use raw rice for idli. How did this calculation come about? I don't know. And then second is ragi mudde and ragi kanji. You know, sprouted ragi powder kanji. What do you think will be the GI? Will it be less?
You can tell yes, accepted, no? You can tell
Ma'am,
Ragini.
to answer your first question, the idli generally is prepared from steamed rice. It's not exactly the parboiled rice which is commonly used in Tamil Nadu. And steaming is for a minimal duration, which is almost equivalent to raw rice. If you see idli rice which is available in Tamil Nadu, it is not the parboiled rice which we predominantly use. We use idli varieties which are predominantly used, and they use a small and very minute steaming that is being given. And we wanted to maintain the same variety of paddy for the study, and so we have used 5204, and we took the raw version for the this one, and whereas
Compare it with the
compared it with the brown
whole
rice
grain,
version.
brown rice.
And also to answer your second question, so definitely germination is going to increase the glycemic property of the food. But germination induces a lot of amylases, and they hydrolyze the complex carbohydrates to lower molecular weight carbohydrates. And when you grind them to fine flour and boil them in the form of a kanji, it is suitable for a weaning child or children or anybody who needs instant energy. But for a diabetic, it is definitely going to raise the blood sugar level.
No, I'm talking about a normal breakfast, because we have that as breakfast. So I wanted to know.
Ragi, ma'am.
And speak about
Okay,
ragi
1
mudde
minute,
also.
1 minute, I'll tell you. Shobana,
Yes.
you know that
Controlled
idli
germination.
rice, Salem rice,
Yes, sir.
normally,
Yes.
that has got given a mild
Yes.
hydrothermal
Yes,
treatment, so
in
that
the
you
GI
have
of
the
that
white
rice.
belly.
Yes. Yes. So
You might have
the
seen that white
yes.
belly.
retention
So
of white
that-
belly is due to less intense
Exactly.
treatment that we are giving.
That is why it is kind of a steamed rice
Yes,
workshop.
yes.
And we have also tested the glycemic index of the authentic idli rice based idli. You will be shocked. It is such a high GI. You could rather eat white rice all 3 meals. The tiffin items are the biggest culprits.
This is eye-opening, actually. This is.
Yes, we strongly recommend people rather you eat white rice, do not grind them into batter and make only dosa, chutney, no fiber, no vegetable.
But the
And
fermentation, does it not change it?
Which one?
The fermentation, does
Fermentation
not
will
change it?
increase the glycemic index further. So better we can consume idli along with lot of pulses.
If
For everyone, not only to you. All fermented foods may have a higher GI. Am I right?
May
Because
have a
microbes
higher
will
or
get-
lower GI, because as she said, it might dissolve more of carbohydrates into a simpler forms, which is more, though there is some organic acid. And definitely if idli is so culturally grained, like what Shobana says, rather eat with some chana gravy, like how you have for chapati and chana. You must put in your sambar lot of pulses. And instead of taking only coconut chutney, and sambar will have neither dal, no vegetable, it will be some watery sambar, and it has got no meaning to that idli. That shift, if it happens, idli can be good. And,
And
about
we can
the,
add lot of pulses in the batter itself while grinding.
yeah, even then, the particle size.
Damaged
goes.
starch will be very high in
Yeah.
idli batter.
I am very convinced. We did idli of different proportion. It is not going to lower GI unless there is some innovation comes from the idli rice variety.
So one more is, ma'am, you were talking about metformin. So I have been told by my doctor that, see, I don't have sugar, but they say that if you're overweight, that you have insulin resistance. So
Correct.
would this be recommended for insulin resistance people
Yeah,
who do not
it's-
show sugar issues?
Yeah, insulin resistance itself is a kind of a at risk for diabetes stage. So metformin will make and wake up that lazy insulin to make it more active. And metformin, sometimes when some people, definitely many people will find after you start taking metformin, your appetite becomes less. So your eating quantity will reduce. That is an indirect route to arrest the excess calorie intake going into your mouth. Ultimately, the total calorie in excess, everything gets converted into glucose.
Yeah, that's
Either at the end of digestion or through metabolically. So in that sense, that metformin definitely improves your insulin resistance, improves your insulin sensitivity. You will feel that after some time, you may slowly start losing weight, and to stabilize that, it is very helpful. It is wonder drug. in
So
that
do
sense.
you take volunteers in your studies?
Yes, we love to. We have too many studies. I wish you are in Chennai. We have a lot of studies going on now.
Though I am from Chennai, but I am at Hyderabad right now. So
We would
Can
love to.
initiate a study here.
Yeah. Okay,
No,
we
no,
can
like, we'll
initiate
be,
a study.
like say,
So
maybe
that's
half
what,
of our staff are.
After all your
diabetic
questions,
or
after
diabetic.
all your questions, we have a list of, I come up with a list of ideas how to take it forward with the rice, which we don't want to give up. We wanted to
So,
rise the race.
Another thing was about whey protein isolates. Is it recommended to take it on everyday basis if you're doing
No,
exercise?
Please don't. As it is, you are having insulin resistant, and whey protein has got high amount of branch chain amino acid. They will only increase your insulin levels more in the blood. Please do not. That's exactly my driving
An
point.
endocrinologist has recommended me to take this. So that's why I'm
Unfortunately, our MBBS,
can take
MD
milk
doctors,
protein.
they don't study even a chapter on nutrition in their medical curriculum.
That's
Why
exactly
they
correct.
should? You need not separate whey
got
protein,
it,
ma'am.
madam.
You can take
Bingo,
milk protein.
keep that
They have one community medicine book chapter subject, only one chapter. They still talk about undernutrition, malnutrition. They don't speak about the other spectrum at all. So whey protein, please do not. That is why you find a lot of athletes and gym people. What a heavy promotion of whey supplements, creatine supplement. You will find at the end, they all end up with renal kidney problems after some years.
That's
It is certainly. Yeah. Oh, a lot of very well data are there. Whey protein with insulinotropic effect is lot of studies have been there. Yeah.
Ma'am,
Nephrotox.
can we permit Dr. Padma Kumari to shoot the questions? I think we have got a long waiting list there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe
I'm
somebody
done,
can
I'm done.
start.
Padma Kumari, madam,
Thank
you can ask the
you
questions.
so much.
Yeah,
They can post a question in the chat box.
yeah. That's the first.
I can start typing
yeah.
answers. When she answers some, I can to say.
Hope time is not a constraint for you,
Oh.
ma'am. Okay.
Only
Maybe we can.
only before 5 I have to go.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Dr. Ratna. Yeah.
Ma'am, this is a very good question. Does cooking in pressure cooker increase the glycemic index as compared to draining out kanji in traditional cooking?
Wow, our common question.
Yes,
Yes,
common question.
Shobana.
Generally, what they ask is they feel that when you cook it in excess water and drain the water, and the leftover rice is going to be the most nutritious and is not going to raise the blood sugar levels. But the truth is, whatever is lost in the cooked water is the soluble amylose content in the rice. But whatever is left in the rice, which is cooked, is definitely is going to be rice.
So,
And it is full of starch.
in fact,
And
that
pressure
amylose should
cooking,
not be drained at
Rice
least.
to a longer duration to a mashy texture is going to raise the blood sugar level. So we need to keep appropriate level of water. we have to maintain the rice to water ratio, cook appropriately, and consume it in the grain form as much as possible.
Add on point to that, there are a lot of manufacturers now. They have come up to us from
Cookers.
Thailand back cooker with straining the kanji, that rice water. This is a big, even Prestige has come out with one such cooker. There's companies are making money out of that. It is in fact very, very unhealthy. Either pressure cook or open cook, please do not strain water. That little soluble amylose is much better to reduce your blood glucose level rather letting it go out in the gutter. Let it go to your guts.
In fact, it's very
And regarding the
tasty. Also,
soaking
kanji
time,
is a
it
very
is better
tasty
if
dish.
you don't
Kanji
soak
then.
and you can directly cook them. Harder the matrix, lesser will be the blood sugar response that we can achieve by consuming the grains.
What is the next question?
Soaking time, and did you advise many small intakes for glycemic control? Yes, at our center, we recommend 4 meal pattern.
It is a
Smaller
conflicting
proportion.
debate now. So there is no conclusion in the world. There are studies where they have done small frequent meal. Your body go into the feasting metabolic mode, So your insulin is always on the up. So there are some scientists believe you give a long gap, have 2-3 large meal. So the body revert to your fasting mode and feasting mode. Some say that fasting mode and feasting mode is like a bounce ball. Harder the ball you hit, it is going to bounce much higher. So in people with diabetes, longer gap may push their blood sugar to hypo levels, low blood sugar. They feel very hungry. Whatever they get in their hand, they put in their mouth to eat. Like our my advisor did that
with me
last
also.
12
Around 4 o'clock, 4:30, I feel extremely hungry.
So please, in that sense, we see in our patients to give sufficiently 3 to. I think the problem, we all eat almost every 2 hours. There is no rest to the mouth at all. So diabetic people cannot say that I'm deprived of many foods. We tell them to eat every 2 to 3 hours. Something or other goes in their mouth. I think it is
that
one
too very
has
rich
to
foods,
experiment their
dry
own
foods.
self to do that.
And Dr. Dixit, you have heard, no? His advocacy,
Sir, Mike.
Dr. Dixit, I think he's from Maharashtra and he has been propagating in a very large way that take 1 or 2 meals only, don't take anything in between. Then you
No.
can reverse your diabetes.
No, that is intermittent
Right.
fasting coming and remission.
One
Before
more
Dr.
question.
Yeah, I have one question, ma'am. Otherwise, I'll forget it. I consult a Ayurvedic doctor also. Like say in general, like say every 3 or 6 months, he always says, like say for the last several years, he says that if anything is sweet, if it is natural, say for example honey or
She
fruits,
will be the best person.
or any other naturally available foodstuffs, you can eat it in moderation. Certainly, it will not increase your glycemic load. Rather, we should avoid anything like say jaggery, which is an artificial form of sugar, or say pure refined sugar. Anything artificial, sweet, he asked me to avoid. Is there
No.
any truth in this?
No, it is not true. See, the honey and other natural form of sugar, it has got the sucrose, which has got higher percentage of fructose in it. So, but honey and jaggery or even your karupati or palm sugar, they are no way. How best way for you to see why we tell people to avoid all of these in diabetes is they do not provide any useful additional nutrients proportionate to the amount of calories. All people with diabetes should first understand the total calories need to be in moderation because we all lead a very sedentary lifestyle today, both in urban and rural. No more tractor, everybody's mechanized, no more bicycle. So that way, in that sense, compared to that, either jaggery or honey, all of them give per 100 grams close to 400 calories, 395, 396. So what way that will be superior? No way it is. It is again a gimmick. They come with the claim low GI because we measure blood glucose. We don't measure fructose index. I wish there is a galactose index and fructose index and glycemic index. All three combined should be the food overall glycemic index. Doctors measure for the clinical purpose blood glucose. The food scientists taken an opportunity to boost all the fructose, which is a monosaccharide. It is absorbed in the blood like a glucose. Unless we measure fructose, go indirectly to worsen your triglyceride and then insulin resistance. So definitely honey or jaggery or palm sugar, all are different ethnic devils only. But take them whatever want you want, take it. It is no better than other.
So with regard to the question on soaking of pulses for consumption, so we all know that cooking pulses without soaking is going to be challenging, and carbohydrates are generally slow digesting, and we can definitely soak and cook and consume. And but in the grain form is going to be the most effective method of consumption, which can help in reducing the blood sugar levels. Like sundal is going to showed a very low glycemic index. White pea sundal and also yellow pea sundal showed the lowest GI in a study which we conducted recently. And moving on to the next question on whether rather than one cereal, consuming rice, wheat and millets along in the food along with NV, meat and milk protein will help in managing diabetics. Yes, definitely inclusion of more number of cereals is going to be nutritious instead of a single cereal. It is going to add value, add nutrition to the diet that we are consuming. And but consumption of meat and milk protein can be in moderation. Definitely we must include lot of pulses along with fruits and vegetables in the diet, not the meat and milk alone. And whether ragi malt and methi powder will help diabetics, we would not suggest ragi malt, but methi powder is going to help because almost 50% of the grain contains soluble fiber, and there are several studies which support that methi powder is helpful in reducing the blood sugar levels.
To add on a point, what Shobana showed in the presentation, today in India, either whichever region, urban, rural, rich, poor, almost all of us consume close to 60% of our daily calories coming from carbohydrates, and we consume only 11 to 12% protein, except Northeast has got higher protein. So we have shown from our epidemiological studies that we need to have higher protein and lower the total carb first. So that's what she showed, that reduce the quantity of carb. So if we can shift from 60 to 5% of the calories coming from carb, we must cut it down and increase it proportionately in protein, not in fat. So from 11%, if we can move to 15 or up to 20% of the calories from protein, it is a welcome change. Like if we increase even in your idli dosa batter, increase a proportion of pulses, reduce a proportion of rice. And that is one way to quickly add more protein. And definitely milk and milk products are healthier for us now. Definitely milk protein is worthwhile to consider to increase the quantity more. So we must focus on more protein foods and less starchy food is a way forward to win over, either prevent diabetes or manage diabetes efficiently.
And Shobana,
Yes, sir.
your fenugreek is also insulinogogic, no? It helps in secretion of the insulin.
No, sir.
No,
It
no.
is a, it has got 2-3
Galactomannans.
flavonoids. Trigonelin is there, and also one more amino acid, which has got blood sugar lowering properties, and it contains galactomannans, which is a soluble fiber. It's almost 50% of the grain. So soluble fiber works by reducing the digestibility as well as the.
So we
it
worked
helps in
with
reducing cholesterol.
Yeah, we found out the most of the benefit from fenugreek predominantly comes from galactomannan.
Yes.
We worked with Fenupower, where they've removed the saponins, they removed all the rest. You remember the earlier study?
Defeated fenugreek.
The powder, we found out that showed very similar. Recently, we got the defatted fenuflakes that has got a similar effect. So I think galactomannan
As
seems
far
to
as
be
blood
the
sugar
drive.
lowering is concerned, it's very effective. And
At least fenuflakes you can easily consume 30 to 40 grams
because it is
to
not
get the
bitter.
benefit, and every meal. It is not like overnight soak fenuflakes, empty stomach, and the rest of the day you eat all to your content, thinking that I've taken Karela juice and I've taken fenugreek, and what wonder it will do. What poor the body will.
Ma'am, and regarding the particle size, utilization of brown rice in dosa instead of white rice is definitely good, because brown rice is nutritious. But as I showed, the glycemic index of dosas prepared from both brown rice and white rice is high. So definitely we'll have to manage with more amount of sambar along with lot of vegetables in order to
More
lower
proportion
the
of dal in the
blood
batter.
sugar, postprandial blood glucose response for dosas. And
What will be the effect of mixing
dal and ghee on rice.
Wow.
Yeah, definitely good
Ghee,
protein
ghee
fat combination.
is
with
neither an
carbohydrates
angel
is
nor a devil. So use it in a moderation. Ghee. Yeah.
Good for the tongue.
Yeah, that's why. No, we need more for the flavor. Keep the ghee bowl in the room. Nice smell will come. In the aroma, you can eat your pongal and everything. That's a best way.
And so one question is on rice with higher amylose content may have low GI, but high amylose content rice has hard texture and not preferred. Can processing with low GI with soft texture? And I think we have seen rice varieties with 30%.
I think up to 30% doesn't increase cooking time. 28,
and we are
29.
able to comfortably consume rice with 30%.
Yeah, we have worked with ADT43, one of the higher amylose.
And
28, 29.
of
It did
course,
not.
we are going to consume white rice with other accompaniments such as pulses.
Time.
General preference of consumers.
Yes.
So rice, okay. It's not about cooking. It's about general preference of consumers.
Yes.
So if a rice is hard cooking,
Yes.
naturally my preference to buy it will reduce.
Okay.
So it's a less of a consumer preference for the texture rather than a preference for that particular
So
product.
when you say hard cooking, you mean that
Like
No,
people,
no, it
like
becomes
say,
rubbery after when it is called retrogradation and it becomes rubbery. And
The
hard.
texture. People, that's why people do not want to use their teeth. That's how that today the epidemic is due to manufacturing epidemics, all obesity. So the promotion, food promotion is you put that in your mouth, it melts. Idli should be spongy. I'm sure when idli was invented, it would not have been spongy. This is all the perception that has been driven by food marketing promotion. They are making us lazy. Even our teeth are becoming lazy. You know, we don't want to exercise our teeth. That's why mastication is very important.
Can processing with low GI with soft texture? So we can definitely prepare soft textured foods with a lower GI. The
Yeah.
approaches are available. We can use functional ingredients and there are several other approaches. We can reduce the carbohydrate content in the meal or the formula, include more slow digesting carbohydrates or proteins. And brown rice has very poor shelf life where it can be enhanced through processing and any novel storage innovations. Yes, definitely there are controlled storage approaches which are available, like modified atmospheric storage, vacuum packaging, and nitrogen flushing. And also there are several packaging options. Yes, we should use them to extend the shelf life of
Yeah.
brown rice as it is
The
nutritious.
yeah, the problem with our Indian culture is, whereas in America, people buy the vacuum brown rice and they cut open and they seal it and put it in the fridge. Whereas we buy 20, 30 kilos, we buy all the nice vacuum or atmospheric, we cut open and put the whole thing in a canister. All the packaging costs we pay one end, and our practices we forget. It become a grocery mandi item, you know, put it in the bin. Rice deserves only that place. So that
And
perception,
even
somebody,
in that bin also,
Yeah.
my grandmother earlier used to always, whether it is brown rice, parboiled rice, or any rice, a bunch of neem leaves and then
Ah.
tulsi she used to put.
correct.
And nowadays that practice has totally gone.
Gone. Some people put even red chilies also, you know. Red chili.
Brown rice.
No, but brown rice definitely needs. That's why we are here today to seek with the director now to steal away all of your brains. Please tell us how to improve the shelf. Yeah.
With respect to brown rice, the definition of brown rice is very light. Honestly, the
Correct.
real brown rice is the one which only the shell is removed without damaging anything
Right.
on the
Sir,
outer layer.
so
Then
the
it
br-
can live years
Right.
together without
Yeah.
rancidity. But the moment it is scratched, the lipid gets exposed and lipase becomes active.
So I should have told somebody.
Yeah. Okay. So the brown rice what you market is semi-milled rice. Yes.
Which it to
Uh,
become a diabetic.
And any relationship between rice bran oil and glycemic index and any fat along included in a meal is going to reduce the glycemic index as it reduces the gastric emptying rate. And rice bran oil, of course, it's nutritious in terms of containing oryzanol.
What
which is
reduces
a-
gastric emptying rate?
No. Rice bran oil and its relation to glycemic index.
Because
See,
brown rice
glycemic
has lot
index
of-
is a concept applied to only food item containing carbohydrates. The moment it has become a rice bran oil, there is no carbs in it. So there is no
No,
glycemic
like
index for
there is
oil.
a
Rice
point
bran oil in relation to glycemic index. Rice
Madam,
bran-
That's
what I'm
fat
saying.
It's not the
consumed in a
oil
meal.
separated in brown rice. there
Rice
is
bran oil.
Brown oil
Yeah,
is
that
there.
could be the reason, one of the reason that it has got a lower glycemic, because any fat content delays gastric emptying. That is why many people misuse that scientific fact. Chocolate industry comes and says a low glycemic index, our chocolate. They call it diabetic chocolate. Ice cream is a low GI. Does it mean
Dark
healthy?
chocolates, they say that
Deep
it's
fried.
good for diabetic patients.
Nothing. It's all a way to cheat themselves, you know. And this even the what that chocolate, food, anything deep fried, even for that matter, French fries, puri, chips, anything deep fried, any fat delays. Samosa may be a low GI, that it doesn't mean healthy. So glycemic index, it's one component, that is not the holistic component. So one has to merge with the existing healthy option, choose glycemic index choice. So you cannot go just with selecting food based only on glycemic index alone.
Madam, talking about say stabilization of the alluron layer,
Yeah.
in general, like say for bran oil extraction, after extraction, they I think heat it or give some thermal treatment so that to stabilize it. I was just wondering, one of the main problems in brown rice, in addition to insect infestation, is the problem of rancidity.
Rancidity.
So
That's why we have written
there is a
one agenda to
methodology
talk
like
to you.
no, I don't know about it because I am a novice in this particular field. But
I
people
think last time we discussed for the low lox rice.
biochemists can possibly think about some kind of methodology, a thermal treatment or enzymatic treatment
To arrest
after brown rice, this thing, so that the metabolic process that are going on can be minimized or arrested,
Very
so that
true.
its shelf life can be extended. Just
So one, I do definitely understand from Dr. Malleshi, parboiling of the brown rice is still better, better shelf life than a raw brown rice for sure. And there is also, he has done quite a bit of work with the germinated brown rice. We last time we started a project with somehow with the lockdown and the whole thing didn't take off. So control permanent. It also increased the content of gamma aminobutyric acid. That is also a very good neurotransmitter. It improves. Japanese, they found it a lot of benefit in the GABA rice. That is very big story. So yeah,
Your concept is extremely good. When we can stabilize bran, why not brown rice?
excellent.
That's the idea. But the question is, if it is exposed to atmosphere, that oxidative rancidity we have to control.
Non-enzymatic and
Otherwise,
enzymatic, two kinds of rancidity.
Correct.
Oxidative rancidity we have to control.
And that too, and during
No,
parboiling, fat goes to the peripheral layer. So it's readily available for the oxygen. Lipase gets inactivated. In
no,
spite,
like that
yes.
could be a way out.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
I'm not an
Could be
expert in that.
definitely a way
It
out.
could be a dual strategy.
Yeah.
to think about.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
that's a
definitely,
first,
yes.
second idea. We wanted the low lox. Yeah.
Yeah,
Other
there are many
questions?
questions.
Do you believe drinking lemon juice?
Ma'am, true value of GI for basmati, I think you should reply.
Yeah. Yeah. Correct. True value of basmati rice. See, basmati rice, any rice upon cooking, if it elongates, the length and breadth ratios increase. It's supposed to have a lower GI because of the amylose content. But we have tested enough basmati varieties, starting from pusa, parboiled brown basmati, raw basmati, white basmati. None of them showed a low GI at all. I think probably one brown rice variety showed an upper medium GI. So it is the problem with our Indian rice is we cannot eat like a Chinese or a Japanese or an American where they are comfortable to eat half cooked rice. We need the edible texture. So the edible texture needs little longer cooking time. Hence, I think, I'm sure if Dr. Malleshi and Shobana corrects me, degree of gelatinization goes up with a longer time cooking. Hence, in India, with our cultural habit of the style of cooking rice, pressure cooking, electrical or open, we need a full cooked texture of rice. It is definitely not going to show a low GI, despite they do have a little more higher amylose than a regular short grain variety.
And drinking lemon juice after a heavy meal.
Yes, lemon juice is an organic acid, but it's not a panacea for heavy meal. So I would be nice if you eat a light meal and still have a lemon juice, you know. So that light meal, lemon juice, we love you very much if you have the habit. Why do you want to force your stomach size to bloat it up? It is like simple diabetes educator material. We normally teach our patients. Give respect to your stomach like you give respect to your foot. When you go to a bata shop or any chapel shop, you buy only for your matching with your foot. Even if the fellow tells you the bigger size chapels are a lot cheaper than your size, is an offer. We don't go and buy a bigger size, right? We are so bothered. When it comes to hotel eating, the fellow gives you 3 idlis, but when doctor told you to eat 2 idli, and he says whether you eat, the waiter may say 2 or 3 idli, we still charge you per plate of idli. We do listen to eat only 2 idli. Oh, I'm paying for 3 idli, might as well eat it. I'll adjust my food in the night. Whereas in the Bata shop next door, we have a different perspective. So this is with the behavioral therapy, we need to train. Let that extra idli, you pack it up and take it home, but do not eat it just because you're paying for one full plate. One plate of biryani is so huge. And think, oh, I paid money. So that is where we must think twice. Yeah.
NA and GA value, next question, 52, maybe probably for Sona Masuri. And our
No,
value,
it's for that Telangana Sona.
yes,
While they published results are say what is sold as diabetic friendly rice, sugar free rice by
Yes,
various
yes.
companies is basically Telangana Sona. So they are asking for that. While NAN values are 52, why your values are 70?
50 methodology also. They are asking about
See,
which is the best
that is why
method for GA
now there is a
analysis.
harmonization across the countries in the world. ISO protocol has come. So many people do not follow the GA protocol, where we are not supposed to use glucometer, any spectrophotometric principle handheld devices, which has greater than 3% of coefficient of variation interassay. They are discouraged. ISO is clearly written. So unfortunately, the glucometers fall under the category. That is one. And also we have seen with GI of the same rice variety from harvest to harvest with the soil. So I do not know what harvest, what sample was tested in NAN
Ma'am,
versus ours.
I have one serious concern here. When you call rice, tell the rice which you buy from the market.
There is no brand name at all.
No,
variety.
no, that's
No
what.
variety, you can't tell
They're
variety
like
also.
whatever sold in the market, even as low GI rice, they are not a single brand.
Exactly.
And what is sold as Sona Masuri branded, it's a mixture of 7 or 8 varieties.
I know,
Yes, yes.
Several
exactly.
studies have
This is the
shown.
biggest problem.
So the
We-
variation between the harvest could be the variation.
No, we
induced in
bought the rice from the seed corporation, the rice variety specific,
Okay.
when we tested it. We did not buy the open market.
Okay.
We got it from the variety specific, and even from TNA, we got the variety specific ADT 43.
Now,
It's all a variety specific purchase.
that's all right. But as far as this
Ah.
diabetic friendly rice or sugar free rice,
Yeah,
these are all commercially marketed.
I know.
God only knows how many mixtures are there.
Very true. And in Chennai, in Tamil Nadu, they sell that Andhra Ponni. They know Ponni is a familiar word for familiar. They sell Andhra Ponni, Sona Ponni. How can be a Sona become Ponni also? So they attach a suffix Ponni to everything. So we don't know. Yeah.
BPT 5204, NAN has observed 52, but we are saying 70 for the white rice.
Same thing, no, this what they are.
For white rice is much higher for us. BPT
Yeah, but
5204.
NAN's value is 52. Please indicate the best method of GA analysis.
Now, if
That's
you are
what you have
interested, ma'am,
already
we can
replied.
provide you a pure sample of BPT.
We can
What
definitely.
you must have
repeat it.
analyzed is what is BPT available in the market. If you are interested, we can give you some quantity of breeder seed, not a problem.
Yeah, but we need it for GA feedings, a clinical trial. I need at least 10 to 15 kilos.
No problem, we'll provide it.
So we can take it up in any of the project ongoing. We have to cover because it's expensive. We have to go to ethics committee. We have to get CTRI.
If you are interested, pure seeds, it's our responsibility.
So Dr. Neeraja,
Don't depend on what is sold in the market, ma'am.
Okay. How to reduce the
My
average
funding
sugar
hundi is
value
there,
with
so I have to
millet
ask her.
diet management?
Huh?
So I had already covered in my presentation. We'll have to include a lot of pulses and legumes and lot of vegetables, reduce the refined grains in the diet, include grains which contains higher levels of soluble fiber, oats, barley, and unpolished grains, brown rice, with liberal amounts of pulses and vegetables.
one simple line, make your diet as colorful as your dresses.
Yes.
We wear variety of colors, variety of dress. We are bored
Desi
with one.
Navara rice. Navara rice is
Ah.
the medicinal rice which is very popular in
It's different.
Kerala, which is pigmented, if I believe it is a red rice variety. To eat as cooked rice, 24 hours,
No,
we
we
have to soak
tested.
in water, and 10 times water cooking has to be done. That is going to be a porridge. And we heard that it's very good for diabetic patients. Please educate us. Maybe it is good for diabetics, but definitely if you cook in 10 times water in that the mashy form,
cannot
it's not
No,
going to
we
be
tested the brown rice, that is unpolished red rice pigmented, really tough
maybe Jyoti
pressure
variety.
parboiled.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Jyoti we tested. It showed such a high GA. So the catch with the parboiled rice, if the degree of parboiling goes up, as I told you before, for Indians, we need the cooked texture. We cannot eat like an Westerner a half cooked rice. So we tested one of the two red brown rice varieties, and we found that they showed such a high GA because it takes a lot of cooking time. So it is any brown rice, if it is like Dr. Maleshi says, we must really understand the true brown rice is very difficult to get in the market uniform because it needs a real technology to remove only the shell, and the bran has to be really glossy, undisturbed bran. The moment you see scratches on the bran, then the gelatinization water can seep in, it can get cooked, it is not going to give benefit. So the food industry has to improve their technology to produce consistent, intact bran, undisturbed bran brown rice, come from Navara rice or from your BPT brown rice, doesn't matter. All of them are same. You don't have to go after one pigmented rice. Pigmented rice may have little more of polyphenols, but there is a yin and yang to the story to that, because the phytate content, polyphenols, prevent absorption of minerals and calcium. There are a lot of bioavailability stories. So pigmented rice, as far as the glycemic index concerned, all whole grains brown rice are more or less the same.
Ma'am, and replacement of sugar with organically grown, produced.
Organically
Jaggery,
produced?
Jaggery and honey.
I think we answered the question. Organic, inorganic, we don't have an organic air to breathe now. Our soils do not have organic fertilizer all over the country. Why go for organic? It's all a marketing. You don't waste your money on that. So whatever you take, and the same story with oil also. People go for unrefined oil and chakki dani oil. These are all same. Calorie is calorie. 1 gram of refined oil or oil. Same thing with the honey or jaggery or white sugar. Now I think there is a company trying to come out with a patent of combining sugar with 50% glucose and something else is not proven. So look for the calorie label on organic sugar, organic honey, inorganic. If the calorie values are no different, they are not going to do any help to us at all. Stay away as far as possible. This we have to discuss with them.
Ma'am, yes, sir, I have one query, ma'am. Madam was telling that milk products are good, but one group, Rahul Tripaঠি's group, says that milk product will stimulate the insulin compounds or something like that. So your opinion on the use of insulin, dairy products.
That's what I told you again. It has got a branch chain amino acid. It is insulin secretagogue. Probably that amount of insulin stimulating is needed. Maybe our many patients with diabetes have got insufficient insulin. So all our population-based epidemiological studies, for want of time, we did not show you all those evidence. Probably you can write to us. I'll share those articles of our own study. And definitely it improves blood glucose control and milk being a low GI. So there is confusion still in the world because we have a very, very unnecessary policy of cut, copy, paste. What is bad for American need not be bad for us. So because for them, they have what now A1 milk, A2 milk and Jersey cows. Why all that? We don't have that problem in India. And they feed the cow with a lot of hormones. And for them, maybe the milk is doing more harm. But our Indian milk, we just finished a study with the glycemic index and insulin index of the milk. Very beautiful data. So please, our milk is definitely in our diet. It is helpful. Western people eat enough meat. On top of that, they eat, as it is from meat, they get a lot of branch chain amino acid. On top of that, they buy gallons of milk. We are consuming pathetically 100, 200 grams per day. We are trying to population, please buy 1 packet of milk, 1 adult at least per day, and they buy 4 liters. So they do over, that is plenty. And we say, oh, America said cut milk. Copy, paste it. It's like our mall, we have a horrible road, but glassy malls. We have a torn jean fashion. So please don't believe that what is good for us in our diet context. We certainly need milk nourishment. We are the largest producer in the world. Definitely gives economic boost to the country. We should definitely not discourage milk at this point of time without any big evidence from our own population data.
One more, thank you, ma'am. One more question is, these pulses, they induce bloating if you increase the quantity of consumption.
Yeah,
so
you told
should we add something to that to ameliorate that particular problem?
I saw there was a question before soaking pulse. See, if you overnight, you soak it and then drain the water and fresh water, you cook it. You may lose some mineral, but doesn't matter. That raffinose, which gives the bloatedness, that gets dissolved in the water soluble. That will definitely get reduced to your bloatedness, and eat along with rice. Definitely the bloatedness will be less and rice GI will also become lower along with the pulse.
And green gram is like
Yeah, not all
grain.
pulses, maybe some chickpea has got little. No, there is a low raffinose chickpea varieties also come. But as usual in the market, we don't know what variety. It is all a mixed bag. So
Sir, maybe
We
indigenous
have
knowledge.
Dr. C.H. Padmavati. She's waiting to ask some questions. I think we'll take her questions.
Yeah.
Padma.
Ma'am, thank you. Ma'am, very good presentation, ma'am. In fact, really it's an eye-opener, I should say, because there are so many myths about diabetic. And before asking question, I should say I am a diabetic on insulin for the last 17 years. So I have approached many methods and many treatments and many people also. But really there are so many myths, ma'am. Today we are talking about so many myths like milk, then even ragi and so many millets what we are taking today. We are also thinking that we should incorporate in our diet and use and all those things. But one question I would like to ask is, whatever studies you have done, ma'am, particularly the response of the patients with respect to the high GI foods or the low GI foods, because as per my knowledge, definitely the response will not be the same even if they are diabetic or if they are pre-diabetic. So are there any studies telling specifically that yes, if you take this, there is an increase in the sugar level like that, so that with respect to diabetic people, and if you're not prone to diabetic, maybe there is no increase or something like that, is my first question, ma'am. Another thing, and this is my suggestion only, because really it's an eye-opener for me. So I was thinking maybe you can come out with a publication particularly about myths and realities of food, what we take, particularly for the management of diabetes. That will be very helpful for many people like us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's already there. Dr. Mohan's, you subscribe to Dr. Mohan's YouTube channel. Name any topic on food he has spoken. I think recently spoke about mangoes for a diabetic and bananas for a diabetic. So you can listen to all of that. He has clarified about a lot of such myths in the YouTube channel, social media. So please subscribe to that and listen. It's all 1 minute, 2 minute, each type of fruit and each type of even a low calorie sweetener and so on. So definitely it is, we have written already some articles also. Probably we'll circulate it, that in-touch article, that rice and delusions. Shobana herself has written quite a few lay public articles we have written. So we can share that definitely with you. And it is not, there is no magic bullet with the diabetic diet, okay? There is nothing called a diabetic diet. What is good for a person with diabetes is good for every one of us. As we grow older, like a broiler chicken to mature chicken, we accumulate body fat. Today, longevity, aging, we are all living longer, many more years. So definitely anything we must eat, the total calories should come down. Eat in moderation, both good and bad food. And have more variety. Do not eat one monotype diet. Every day idli, every day dosa. Please change, more variety. Add fruits and vegetables certainly is very low. I think this overall balanced pattern will take you to whatever state you are in, that will be very helpful. Yeah. What is the next question?
Beta cell exhaustion. So when we consume high glycemic index, glycemic load regularly, what happens is that these kind of high GI demand more insulin secretion from the pancreas. So when pancreas, if it starts...
Madam, can you put on your mic to closer? We are not able to hear you. Shobana, madam.
Okay. Ma'am, I would like to elaborate on beta cell exhaustion. Like when we consume high glycemic index and high glycemic load foods regularly, what happens is that these kind of foods require more insulin. So they demand more insulin from the pancreas, and at a point of time, pancreas gets lazy and it will refuse to produce efficient or effective insulin, and this state is called the beta cell exhaustion, and this beta cell exhaustion leads to type 2 diabetes. And ma'am, is consumption of exclusively millets leads to colon cancer? We do not know. I don't think, because millets have been a part of diet from ancient times, and definitely millets will never cause colon cancer. That is the perception I have. And can I ask some clarification?
Our senior colleague, Dr. Shobana, wants to interact. Madam Shobana, madam, please, madam. You can ask some questions.
Yeah. Actually, I have already posted,
Yes.
and then they've been answered. And then I'm very thankful to Dr. Shobana for her excellent presentation, and also for all the clarifications, some of the clarifications we got from Dr. Malishi and Dr. Sudha. But the problem still remains. The problem still remains is like for rice variety to be released, the texture of the variety or the hybrid is very, very important. So whenever there is a high amylose content, the variety doesn't get easily released. So, so it's very important that how are we going to find a parity between high AC and low GI content? I feel some more study needs to be done, because it's totally not acceptable when we have to release a particular variety or hybrid, because the texture of the high amylose rices will be very, very hard, and the consumer preference is very low for high amylose. And the second thing is the brown rice. You said that there are so many ways in which the shelf life can be increased by certain ways of packing. But then that will not be available for all of us. Even we ourselves find very well packed rice, whatever is the product, is very, very highly priced. So we should find increasing the shelf life of brown rice, which is more acceptable or which is very more reachable to large amount of population, so that for its usage. And that is my second suggestion. And the third one is that we have always been having a very, very, very high regard for Madras Diabetic Foundation for their excellent work. And even till today, that we are not able to say whether this basmati rice or Sona Masuri or Samba Masuri or our own improved Samba Masuri or Telangana Sona, which our Telangana government is trying to export, and then they are having a very excellent program with the Indian School of Business to find ways and means of increasing its marketability. But still, we are not sure whether these varieties have this low GI or the medium GI, and then whether whatever anybody claims is only through certain reports and certain minor studies. I for one person would not believe unless the feeding studies have been made and then excellently made, and then the feeding studies have been done, and then it has been proven that the sugar, that is the diabetics are getting relief by the consumption of these medium or the low GI varieties. So I feel that the directorate, our institute, under the aegis of our leadership of our Dr. Sundaram, and also my colleague, Dr. L.V. Subbarao, they can provide any variety of all these varieties of rices in enough quantity of rice for you to do excellent studies, feeding studies, and then give us this authentic information. Like even today, we are unable to say, yes, Samba Masuri has got this. And then why Samba Masuri, which has got such excellent texture on cooking, and then has got such marketability, and then which has been favored by the farmers, which occupies such large lakhs of acres in the country, has got this particular GI or not. So it's a very, very important aspect, madam. I think you should have an excellent collaboration with my old institute, with which I am very much associated, and then bring out the authentic and then clear information on these aspects. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Very good suggestions. Definitely would love to interact and make more collaborations with the Indian Institute of Rice Research, and we would like to take the glycemic index testing studies on the varieties that the institute has developed, and definitely this is going to benefit by widening the healthy food choices available for this population who are having higher propensity for developing diabetes.
Yeah, but the problem is that what we are finding is anybody, now I am retired, but wherever I go, the very first thing when I mentioned that I'm a rice scientist, now the diabetes being so prevalent that everybody asks for advice on this only. Which variety is suitable? How do we cook it? And then what is the glycemic index? And so somehow we are floundering, and then we are unable to give. Of course, we say that whatever is available in the market, please don't believe. And that is all, that's total deception. But then we ourselves as scientists, now we would really like to know what is the status of these widely grown varieties which have got excellent market, excellent yield, and they are favored by the farmers. So it's very important. I would really like that you should take up this aspect of study. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. And now I invite our former director, Dr. Viraktamat sir, to interact. Sir, Viraktamat sir.
Thank you, Dr. Padma Kumari, Dr. Sundaram. Very nice lecture by Dr. Shobana. I must thank the whole team and Dr. Mohans, whom I am a very big fan of him. I must really appreciate being an MBBS doctor. Here is a person who is giving the holistic approach to diabetic control, the diet, the exercise, and also some medicine. In fact, myself is a diabetic patient for the last 25 years. I was taking insulin for almost 6 years. Now, I think I must really appreciate this lecture, which gives a very good information that you can reverse diabetes with proper diet. In fact, though we are rice scientists, we have not been doing really good work in conveying the message that what kind of rice the people eat. People go only for cosmetic rice, which is very, very white and good looking, but very bad for health. Myself have already proved beyond doubt. I've been following the brown rice eating with good pulses, vegetables and fruits. Now I have stopped completely the insulin and all the medicines. My sugar levels are very normal. This is, I think, authentic information. I must appreciate the efforts of Dr. Mohans and team. It's very nice. Now, madam, you told you have come out with a lot of products from your institute. I would like to know where you can get those things, because we are seeing a lot of fake.
We are in development. They are in the developmental stage, sir. We have prepared the prototypes, and we'll have to work on the scaling up. We'll have to do the scaling up trials, and we have got a lot of standards. So we'll have to test the GI for the prototype, and then we'll have to scale up the product and confirm the glycemic index value. And maybe we may transfer the technology to the interested industries, or maybe at Dr. Mohan's brand, it may get translated, for which we need some time.
Thanks.
Very good. Yeah. This is, I think, coming from an authentic source. Actually, we can depend upon this, not on the market products. This last point I want to talk about this GI work, which Dr. Shobana, my colleague, has told me. Madam, 10 years back, we took a lot of varieties and given about 20 varieties to NIN. And they did this feeding studies to the patients, and they have come out with a very good data, which shows that BPT 5204 and Lalat varieties, these two were perfectly okay for the low GI of about 52%. Even BPT 5204 has been proved beyond doubt that it got low GI even from IRRI studies. I think a lot of work has been done. I think we can still do some more for the benefit of the whole mankind. Thank you very much. It's very good. I must thank Dr. Sundaram and both Shobana for having this kind of a very important lecture, which is good information for diabetic people across the world. Thank you very much.
I think Madam Shobana wants to interact for a few more minutes. Madam, please. Shobana, madam.
No more clarification, Padma.
Thank you.
It's okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Any more clarifications? Anyone wants to pose a question to the speaker? You're welcome.
They can raise up their points.
Yeah.
And they can send it as an email to me or to Dr. Shobana, to Dr. Neeraja, so that any further clarification, because time is also a constraint today. So they have to go back by 5 o'clock. So presently we'll wind it up now, ma'am. And I understand that Shobana madam didn't even have her lunch also. We are really sorry, ma'am. We'll get you something. So I request now Dr. Hariprasad to offer his concluding remarks.
Respected Director, Honorable Speaker, Dr. Shobana, Seminar Committee Chairperson, Dr. Padma Kumari, Dr. Viraktamat Sir, Dr. Shobana Ma'am, very good evening to every one of you. I'll take 3 to 5 minutes to give my concluding remarks. diabetes is not a disease, or it is more than a disease, it is a metabolic disorder. Since it is a disorder, it has to be managed through changes in lifestyle. Today, we have all the focus is on food only, but it is the diabetes is because of genetic of the person, and stress lifestyle and unhealthy food habits, lack of sufficient physical exercise. I myself, I am a diabetic patient for the last 2 decades. And when I see many people like me, in all of them, including myself, I observed initial depression and frustration when they are diagnosed with diabetes, and slowly become complacent because in majority of the persons, it has no immediate health consequences. They think these things are under control and continue to have all the unhealthy food habits, stress life, and moderate inadequate physical exercise. In the long run, all these effects get accumulated, leading to serious and irreparable health issues. From the age of 40 onwards, whether the person is diabetic or non-diabetic, it is advisable to have healthy lifestyle for a better health. And there is no any common prescription for the management of diabetes. Here I tell it is not medication, it's metformin or insulin. We need to see your lifestyle management. Every individual has to experiment and try to have the unique way of handling it. There is no one common prescription for all. Every person has to try on trial and error basis. They have to identify appropriate lifestyle management, food habits that will help in management of diabetes. Today's talk by Dr. Shobana is an eye opener in this direction. At least for me, I was thinking millets are friendly. No, now I have come to understand no food is bad, no food is good, no food is good, no food is bad. Everything is, if we take in moderation, all the foods are good for diabetic patient like non-diabetic person. Thank you, Dr. Shobana ma'am, for your excellent presentation, and all my colleagues were stirred. And it is evident by the way it's more than 2 hours. Your talk started at 2:30 and now we are at 4:40. That shows yours and your colleagues, Dr. Malesh and Dr. Sudha, the way they interacted with us, every one of us are thrilled. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I request everyone to switch on the videos for a photograph, and I invite Dr. Arvind Jukanti for the formal vote of thanks. Please keep your videos on.
Can you continue?
Shobana madam, namaste.
Namaste, sir.
Ma'am, hello, ma'am.
Hello, ma'am.
Good evening, sir. Okay. I think I invite Dr. Arvind for a formal vote of thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Hari sir, for putting very nicely how diabetics should be managed. And at the outset, I feel privileged to be given this opportunity to propose the vote of thanks. And I would like to thank the director and organizing committee of seminars for this. And I profusely thank our director for sparing his time in his busy schedule. And most importantly, I, on behalf of IRR, would like to thank Shobana ma'am for her excellent talk. And as we can see from the interactions and questions which my colleagues have posed, that this was very interesting and a very in-depth talk. And many of my colleagues have called it an eye-opener. So we really would like to thank you, ma'am, for this excellent presentation and giving us good directions in how to manage this and what kind of diet should be followed. We are indebted to you for this. And next, I would also like to thank Dr. Maleshi and Dr. Sudha ma'am for actively interacting with my colleagues, patiently answering all the questions in a very informal way. And I take this opportunity to thank all my colleagues who have joined in from IRR, NRRI, and other institutes in this wonderful talk. At the same time, I would appreciate the participation of students, scholars, and RS, SRFs, whoever has been present throughout this presentation. And also sincerely thank the organizing committee led by Dr. Padma Kumari ma'am for organizing this excellent talk. And finally, would like to thank the IT team led by Dr. B. Sailaja and her colleagues for her wonderful efforts. Finally, also thank the admin and technical staff of IRR for helping us out. Thank you all.
Padma madam, unmute.
Thank you very much. Now the meeting has come to a close. Sir, good evening, Virakamat sir. How are you, sir? Yeah, we can close this meeting.